You're scrolling through job listings, sipping your third cup of coffee, probably sitting in yesterday's hoodie, and trying to convince yourself that scrolling is job hunting. And then you see it. The dream job. The one that makes your
spine tingle.
The one that sounds tailor-made for you until you read the requirements. 10 years of experience in a role that didn't even exist 5 years ago. 2 advanced degrees, proficiency in software that sounds suspiciously made up, and ability to lead global teams while maintaining local harmony. What does that even mean? And that voice in your head pipes up, am I even qualified? Let's talk about it. And maybe dismantle the panic spiral one bullet point at a time. Welcome back to Decide to Thrive, the channel where we break down corporate nonsense, rewrite your job search strategy, and turn imposter syndrome into informed confidence. I'm Thrive, your burnout-proof career strategist and reluctant HR manager refugee. If you're new here, we do career truth-telling with a side of snark. If you've seen my videos on why hating your job is historically correct, or the one where we reduce why should we hire you to corporate theater, you already know the drill. Today's topic, feeling unqualified, which is hilarious because most people applying to jobs should feel qualified, but don't. And the people who feel overqualified often shouldn't. Welcome to modern hiring. Unless the job says must have survived the Oregon Trail while managing global logistics and also played third flute in a jazz band, you're probably not as unqualified as you think you are. And if you did survive the Oregon Trail, you might be older than the CEO. The myth of the perfect candidate. Now, starting out, let's just obliterate the idea that the perfect candidate even exists. Job descriptions aren't blueprints, they're wish lists, Frankenstein together by HR, a hiring manager, and that one executive who insists every employee should also be a data scientist and a public speaker. In reality, nobody ticks all the boxes, and the person who does probably costs too much or already left the industry to go live in a cabin and make sourdough. It's incredibly difficult to make. Here's what companies really want. Someone who can solve problems. This is the number one thing. Someone who doesn't require an exorcism to collaborate with. Someone who won't ghost them after onboarding. If you meet half the criteria and have a pulse, you're already a contender. Bonus points if you bring in emotional intelligence and don't refer to yourself as a rockstar ninja. Understanding transferable skills. Let's revisit one of my favorite career truths from previous videos. Most jobs are just different flavors of the same chaos. So let's stop gatekeeping ourselves because our past titles weren't identical to the one we're applying for. Skills transfer, experience translates. Here's an example. You managed a small cafe? Cool. You did operations, scheduling, supply chain, conflict resolution, and customer retention, all before 10 a.m. You raise kids? You handle logistics, crisis management, education, and emotional damage control. That's HR, project management, and coaching, all rolled into one. You were a freelancer? Well, you were marketing, you were sales, you were finance, and you were tech support. You practically ran a tiny empire, and we all want empires. It's not about having the exact background. It's about telling the story of how what you've done solves a problems that they have. The confidence gap. Here's something I bring up often with my clients. You don't need to be overqualified. You need to be brave enough to apply. Statistically, men apply for jobs when they meet just 60% of the qualifications. Women, they wait until they almost hit 100% and then ask a friend to check their resume before even clicking submit. This is not a competency gap, it's a confidence gap. Let me say it plainly. Nobody ever got hired for being perfect. People get hired for being relevant, being resourceful, and not disappearing halfway through onboarding. If you've been watching my How to Answer Tough Interview Questions series, you know this. The people who stand out aren't the ones with the perfect CVs. They're the ones who connect, who communicate, and who care enough to prepare. Crafting a compelling narrative. Resumes are not about cramming your life story into bullet points. They are curated evidence that you can solve problems and deliver results. When I rewrite resumes at d2thrive.com, here's the formula. What was the problem? What did you do? What changed because of that? So instead of manage social media, write grew LinkedIn engagement by 300% by targeting industry-specific content. And your cover letter? Stop trying to sound like you memorized a Victorian sonnet. Just explain why you're interested and how your skills solve their issue. That's it. No prose, no fluff. The power of continuous learning. You're never going to be perfectly ready, but you can be coachable. Online courses, certifications, LinkedIn Learning, free boot camps, those aren't just resume padding, they're actually signals. Signals that you're proactive, you're growth-minded, and you're not afraid to learn what you don't know. Hiring managers don't expect mastery on day one. They expect curiosity and humility. Here's a line you can literally use in an interview today. I noticed this job requires experience with Salesforce. I've used similar platforms, and I'm currently working through a certification to deepen my knowledge. You just positioned yourself as a self-starter.
Boom.
Navigating career transitions. Let's talk about career pivots, because the idea that you have to stay in the same field forever, it's a lie. It's invented by people who want you to stay for retention. Whether you're going from teacher to trainer, actor to copywriter, or finance to UX design, every move is valid if you can translate the skills. In my own work with clients, we do something I call skills audit. You list everything you've done. Then we reverse engineer how it matches what a company actually needs. 9 times out of 10, you're already 80% of the way there. It's about framing, addressing the employment gaps. Let me say it louder.
Employment gaps are not moral failings.
See, that was louder. Did you survive burnout, caregiving, layoff waves, or gesturing wildly at the last 5 years? Welcome. So did the rest of us. Use the gap to show growth. You don't need to fill it with productivity porn. Just tell the truth and pivot to what you're excited to do next. Example, I took time off to care for a family member and to reflect on my next career move. During that time, I explored coursework and marketing analytics, which led me here. No shame, just strategy. The interview mindset. Think of interviews like dating apps. Everyone's pretending to be more put together than they actually are. Your job? Show up as someone who understands the assignment. Don't memorize answers. This is one of the worst things you can do. Prep stories that show what you've done. Use the STAR method. I'll be releasing an entire video on the STAR method soon, so subscribe to stay notified of its release. For the uninformed, STAR in the STAR method stands for situation, task, action, result. It's the format nearly all employers use for their questions, and the format you will have the best results with your answers. Additionally, always ask questions back, not just to impress them, but to see if they are qualified to have you as an employee. It's an audition for both sides. Ask, what does support look like for someone onboarding into this role? I personally have been involved in situations with previous employers that did not set me up for success, so it required far more work and hours for me to be able to be successful. You don't want an environment like that. How would you describe the team culture in one word, and why? If they flinch, red flag. Embracing rejection as redirection. If you apply and you don't get it, it doesn't mean you weren't good enough. Maybe the role got frozen. Maybe the hiring manager panicked and went with an internal candidate. Maybe their budget disappeared like your motivation after reading 12 job posts. Every rejection is a redirection. It teaches you something about your positioning, your materials, or frankly, about the company that didn't deserve you. Here's an idea. Track your feedback, improve your pitch, and keep applying. The job you land will never be the one you didn't try for. Conclusion. So, are you even qualified? Let me answer it with brutal honesty. You're probably more qualified than you think, and less qualified than someone who already applied. But honestly, here's the secret. That's everybody. No one feels 100% ready. They just applied anyway. If this helps snap you out of your job search doom scrolling, smash the like button and subscribe if you want more career advice that doesn't involve corporate platitudes or pastel LinkedIn posts about hustle. And if you want help with resumes, with interviews, career shifts, or turning your escape plan into a business all of its own, go to d2thrive.com. I hope you build the life HR can't micromanage. Like if you like, sub if you sub, share if you share. I'm Thrive. Bye.